On the outer rim of civilized space, far beyond the jurisdiction of the Galactic Council, there existed a station that didn't officially appear on any star maps. Station Carthos 9. It floated in the darkness like a rusted scar in the void, a massive ring of mismatched metal plates, blinking lights, and ancient docking bays bolted together by centuries of desperate engineering. Pirates refueled there. Mercenaries took contracts there. Smugglers disappeared there. And at the center of it all was a bar. Not just any bar. The Black Nebula. If you asked around the galaxy's darker corners, every species knew about it. The drinks were strong enough to dissolve plating. The brawls happened hourly. And the clientele was the kind of beings you crossed the street to avoid. There was one simple rule inside the Black Nebula. No humans. Not officially. Not because humans were weak. Because they were unpredictable. But that rule only worked if humans followed rules. And one of them didn't. The bar's sliding door hissed open. Every head inside turned. The atmosphere of the Black Nebula was thick with smoke, glowing alien vapors, and the scent of fermented liquids that could strip paint from starships. Massive creatures filled the tables. Scaled warriors, insectoid bounty hunters, hulking reptilian miners, and things that didn't even have faces. Yet when the door opened, the entire bar went silent. Because standing in the doorway was something unusual. A human. He looked completely ordinary. Average height. Simple dark jacket. Dusty boots from long travel. His face showed the calm expression of someone who had been awake too many hours and didn't care anymore. He stepped inside slowly. The door closed behind him. For 3 seconds nobody spoke. Then the whispers began. Is that a human? What is it doing here? Didn't their species get restricted after the Vega incident? A tall insectoid bartender slowly placed a glass down and leaned forward. The bartender's name was Graxx. His species towered nearly 3 meters tall, with chitin armor plates and glowing compound eyes. He stared at the human like someone watching a meteor fall toward their house. The human approached the counter. Come. Unbothered. Like he didn't notice the 100 hostile eyes staring at him. He sat down. The metal stool creaked under his weight. Then he spoke. Whiskey. The word echoed through the silent bar. Graxx blinked his 4 eyes. You are aware where you are? The human nodded casually. Bar. The bartender's antenna twitched. Yes, but not your kind of bar. The human leaned his elbows on the counter. Look, I've been traveling for 14 hours straight. I'm tired, my ship barely survived a pirate ambush and I just want a drink. He paused. So unless the whiskey bites back, we shouldn't have a problem. Several aliens in the room chuckled. Others didn't. Graxx slowly poured the drink. A dark amber liquid slid into the glass. He pushed it toward the human. Last human who came here, Graxx said slowly, started a war. The human picked up the glass. Sounds like he had a rough night. Then he drank it. 1 gulp. The bartender's eyes widened. That wasn't human whiskey. That was a distilled chemical mixture strong enough to knock out a full-grown Kroth warrior. The human simply placed the empty glass down. Not bad. The entire bar stared. And that's when the trouble started. At a corner table, a massive reptilian alien leaned back in his chair. His name was Graxx. 7 feet tall. Scales like armored plating. Claws capable of tearing open starship hulls. He was a bounty hunter, and one of the most feared fighters on Carthos 9. Graxx hated humans. Actually, hate was too soft a word. Humans had humiliated him once. 3 cycles ago, a human mercenary had defeated him in a pit fight. Since then, Graxx had sworn he'd kill the next human he saw. And one had just walked into his bar. Graxx stood up slowly. His chair scraped across the floor. Every alien nearby moved out of the way. The floor trembled with each step as he approached the counter. The human noticed him. But he didn't move. Graxx loomed behind him. You have courage, Graxx rumbled. The human turned slightly. Or stupidity. The human shrugged. Depends who you ask. Several patrons backed away. This was about to get interesting. Graxx leaned closer. His breath smelled like burnt metal. You know what humans did to my kind? The human glanced over his shoulder. Honestly, humans have done a lot of things. Graxx's claws flexed. They humiliated us. The human sighed. Look, I'm not here for history class. He tapped the empty glass. Just here for a drink. The bar went silent again. Nobody spoke to Graxx like that. Ever. Graxx's tail slammed into the floor. You think you're brave? The human turned fully now, and looked up at the towering alien. His voice stayed calm. No. Graxx blinked. Then why are you here? The human leaned back in his chair. Because you're blocking the bartender. Graxx froze. Half the bar choked on their drinks. Graxx's eyes burned with fury. You insult me? The human tilted his head. I asked for whiskey. Then he pointed. You're in the way. The silence that followed could have cracked asteroids. Graxx slowly reached forward. His massive claw grabbed the human's shoulder. Human, Graxx growled. You're about to learn why your species isn't welcome here. The bartender whispered quietly. Human, you should leave. But the human didn't move. Instead, he sighed. A tired sigh. Like someone dealing with a long day. Then he looked up at Graxx. You ever have one of those nights? Graxx narrowed his eyes. What? Where everything just keeps getting worse? Graxx tightened his grip. Yes. The human nodded slowly. Yeah. Then he stood up. And that's when the room realized something strange. The human wasn't small. Not really. Standing now, his posture changed. His shoulders straightened. His calm eyes hardened. And suddenly, the difference in size didn't look as important anymore. Graxx laughed. A deep, mocking sound. Oh good. He cracked his knuckles. I was worried you'd run. The human glanced at the bartender. You might want to step back. Graxx immediately retreated. Several patrons scrambled away. Because everyone in the Black Nebula knew what happened next. A bar fight. But nobody expected what would happen after. Graxx swung first. A massive claw aiming straight for the human's head. Fast. Deadly. Enough force to crush bone. But the human moved. Not backward. Forward. His hand shot up. He caught the alien's wrist. Stopped it. Dead. Graxx blinked. Impossible. The human's grip tightened. And for the first time, Graxx felt something he hadn't felt in years. Concern. The human's voice was calm. Too calm. You really picked the wrong night. On the outer rim of the galaxy, far beyond the territories of organized civilizations, there was a place where laws were suggestions and survival depended on reputation. It was called Carthos 9 Station. The station was old, ancient by galactic standards. Layers of metal plating had been welded together over centuries, forming a giant floating ring around a dead star. Flickering lights, patched airlocks, and crooked docking bays gave the station the appearance of a mechanical monster stitched together by desperate engineers. Every outlaw in the galaxy knew Carthos 9. Smugglers traded illegal cargo there. Pirates celebrated their victories there. Bounty hunters collected their rewards there. But the true heart of the station was a single establishment located deep in its central corridor. A bar called the Black Nebula. If you stepped into that bar, you stepped into the most dangerous room in several star systems. The drinks could dissolve plating. The arguments often ended with broken bones. And the creatures sitting around the tables were the kinds of beings whose names appeared on wanted posters across half the galaxy. There was only one rule in the Black Nebula. A rule repeated so often that even drunk pirates remembered it. No humans. Not because humans were weak. Quite the opposite. Humans were banned because wherever they went, things tended to explode. But rules only work if everyone follows them. And on one quiet cycle, a tired human pilot didn't care about the rule. The door to the Black Nebula slid open with a metallic hiss. Inside the bar, dozens of alien patrons were drinking, gambling, or arguing loudly. Then the room went silent. Because standing in the doorway was something none of them expected to see. A human. He looked ordinary. Average height. Dark travel jacket. Boots covered in dust from a long journey. His hair was messy and faint stubble covered his jaw. He looked less like a warrior and more like someone who had been awake for too long. The human glanced around the bar calmly. Then he stepped inside. Conversations died instantly. Dozens of alien eyes followed him. Scaled warriors. Insectoid bounty hunters. Massive reptilian mercenaries. Even a few strange creatures made of shifting energy. Every single one of them stared. Because humans rarely traveled this far into outlaw space. And the last time one had, 3 ships exploded. The human didn't seem to notice the tension. He walked straight to the bar counter and sat down. The bartender slowly leaned forward. His name was Graxx, a towering insectoid with 4 glowing eyes and chitin armor plating. Human, Graxx said carefully. You are aware of where you are? The human nodded. Bar. Graxx tilted his head. Yes, but not your kind of bar. The human rested his elbows on the counter. I've been flying for 14 hours. My ship barely survived pirate fire, and my navigation system thinks 3 different stars are north. He rubbed his face. So unless your drinks explode, I'd really like one. The bartender hesitated, then slowly poured a drink. A dark amber liquid filled the glass. He slid it across the counter. Last human who came here, Graxx said quietly, started a war. The human picked up the glass. That sounds exhausting. Then he drank it. 1 gulp. The bartender froze. That drink was strong enough to knock out most species instantly. The human simply placed the glass down. Smooth. And that's when the trouble began. The bounty hunter. In the corner of the bar sat a massive reptilian warrior. 7 feet tall. Covered in armored scales. His name was Graxx. Graxx was a bounty hunter feared across several star systems. He had hunted pirates, assassins, warlords, and even rogue military units. But Graxx had a problem. 3 cycles ago he lost a fight. To a human. It had been humiliating. Since that day, Graxx had sworn that the next human he encountered would die. And now, one had just walked into his bar. Graxx slowly stood up. His heavy claws scraped across the metal floor as he approached. The entire room backed away. When Graxx reached the bar, he towered over the human like a living mountain. You have courage, Graxx growled. The human turned slightly. Or poor navigation. Graxx narrowed his eyes. You know what humans did to my people? The human shrugged. Humans have done a lot of things. Graxx slammed his tail into the floor. They humiliated us. The human sighed. Look, I'm just here for a drink. He tapped his empty glass. Not a history lecture. A few aliens quietly laughed. Graxx's claws flexed. You insult me? The human tilted his head. You're blocking the bartender. The room went silent again. Nobody spoke to Graxx like that. Ever. Graxx grabbed the human's shoulder. You're about to learn why humans aren't welcome here. The bartender whispered nervously. You should leave. But the human stayed seated. He sighed again. Then stood up. And suddenly something changed. The human's relaxed posture disappeared. His shoulders straightened. His eyes sharpened. Graxx swung first. A massive claw aimed directly at the human's head. But the human moved. Fast. His hand shot up and caught the alien's wrist. Stopped it completely. Graxx blinked. Impossible. The human's grip tightened. You picked the wrong night, he said calmly. The fight. Graxx roared and swung again. This time the human stepped aside, letting the massive alien crash into the bar counter. The impact shattered several glasses. Before Graxx could recover, the human drove an elbow into the alien's ribs. The sound echoed through the bar. Graxx staggered. The room erupted. Patrons jumped away as tables flipped and drinks spilled everywhere. Graxx swung wildly. But the human moved like someone who had fought far larger enemies before. Each motion was precise, efficient, deadly. A punch to the throat. A kick to the knee. A shoulder slam that sent the massive alien crashing into a table. The entire bar stared in disbelief. Graxx weighed 3 times more than the human. Yet the human controlled the fight completely. Finally, with one brutal movement, the human grabbed Graxx's arm and flipped him over his shoulder. The giant reptilian crashed onto the metal floor. The station itself seemed to shake. Silence filled the room. Graxx groaned. The human stood over him. Calm. Uninjured. Breathing steadily. Then he looked around the room. Anyone else? No one moved. The truth about the human. Graxx slowly approached the human. What are you? The human picked up his glass. Thirsty. Then he sat down again. The bartender hesitated. You fight like a soldier. The human shrugged. Used to be. Several aliens leaned closer. Graxx slowly pushed himself up from the floor. His eyes widened as realization dawned. You. The human glanced over. Graxx stared in shock. I know you. The room went quiet. The human sighed. Please don't. Graxx pointed a claw. You're Commander Hale. The name spread through the bar like an electrical shock. Commander Hale. A human war hero. The man who once held a defensive line alone while evacuating an entire colony. The soldier who destroyed a pirate fleet with a damaged frigate. The human who once fought a Kroth warlord in hand-to-hand combat and won. Every criminal in the Outer Rim knew that name. And they were suddenly sharing a room with him. Hale rubbed his temples. I was hoping nobody here watched the news. Graxx stared in disbelief. You're supposed to be dead. Hale shrugged. I get that a lot. The real problem. Just as the tension began to fade, the station alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed across the walls. A voice echoed through the speakers. Warning. Hostile fleet approaching. Everyone in the bar froze. Graxx looked toward the ceiling. That's impossible. Graxx checked the station monitor. His eyes widened. Pirates. But not just any pirates. A massive war fleet was approaching Carthos 9. The station had defenses but not enough to survive that many ships. Panic spread through the bar. Smugglers grabbed their weapons. Bounty hunters rushed for the exits. Hale sighed. Of course. Graxx looked at him. You knew this was coming? Hale finished his drink. Yeah. The room stared. You came here because the pirates were coming. Hale stood up. I was tracking them. Graxx whispered nervously. There are 30 ships out there. Hale cracked his knuckles. Then we should probably stop them. Graxx blinked. We. Hale looked around the bar. At the pirates. The bounty hunters. The criminals. You all live here, right? Nobody answered. Well, Hale said calmly. Let's defend the place. The battle for Carthos 9. Minutes later, the entire station was preparing for battle. Pirates who had been drinking moments earlier now manned turrets. Bounty hunters loaded weapons. Smugglers powered up old defense cannons. And leading the entire chaotic operation was the human who walked into the wrong bar. Commander Hale stood in the control room giving orders. Focus fire on the lead ships. Redirect power to the shield grid. Graxx, take the port guns. Graxx hesitated, then nodded. For the first time in years, the entire station fought together. When the pirate fleet arrived, they expected easy prey. Instead, they found a station ready for war. Turrets fired. Missiles launched. Defense cannons roared. And at the center of the battle, Hale piloted a small fighter craft directly into the enemy formation. His ship moved like lightning. 2 pirate fighters exploded. Then 3. Then 5. The pirates quickly realized something terrifying. They weren't fighting civilians. They were fighting a human. The ending. Hours later, the pirate fleet retreated. Half their ships were destroyed. The rest fled into deep space. Carthos 9 survived. Inside the Black Nebula Bar, the survivors slowly returned. The atmosphere felt different now. Respectful. Graxx approached Hale. You saved the station. Hale shrugged. I just wanted a drink. Graxx laughed. A deep, booming sound. You're welcome here anytime. The bartender poured another glass of whiskey. Hale took a sip. Around him, the most dangerous beings in the galaxy raised their drinks. Not in fear, but in respect. Because that night, one human walked into the wrong bar. And the entire galaxy learned why humans were never banned because they were weak. They were banned because when humans showed up, everything changed.